What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with the Saturday Night Sit Down. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and tonight on the Saturday Night Sit Down, we got Tony Ingram. What's going on, my man?
What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, man, and being on my show. Like I said, I know the time frame is different. You out there in Japan right now, like you said, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning, so it's pretty early, man. So thank you for sitting down, man. Again, I can't say how much I appreciate that, brother.
Absolutely, man. Pleasure's all mine. Sure.
Awesome, man. I mean, so let me break it down to you, man. The whole reason why I started this show, right, is I understand how long, especially for myself, like how hard it was to grow up to become a man, to be a good person. A lot of times, especially with the way we were growing up in my generation, as a man, you're not allowed to share your feelings. You can't talk about certain things. You kind of got to stand up straight. You got to be bold, tough, and be so stoic 24/7. But we're human too at the end of the day. And what I also bring to that is because, a man, if you want to grow up to be a man, you need to have a strong man to show you the way, right? Or lead the path for you. So a lot of plays on it with your dads, because a lot of my friends didn't have their dads in their lives for one reason or the other. And then I also seen that with the kids around the community, how that impacted them in their lives growing up without their father present or without positive male role models. So by sitting down with men like yourself, we kind of break down and then kind of hash out to help guide them a little bit better and give them some positive male role models to go down the line, and know what it is to be a man. And that everybody struggles, man. Every man struggles through something, so we shouldn't be ashamed. We shouldn't be afraid to open up about our feelings or talk about things or reach out to another fellow man, because 9 times out of 10 they've been through something that you're going through right now. And by having those conversations is how you're going to be able to learn, grow, and get better from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. This is good.
Yeah, and what jumped out about me about you, right? The first video that I saw of yours was with you and your daughter doing the affirmations. I'm beautiful, I'm creative, I'm strong, I'm bold, and I resonated so much with that because I have 2 kids. I have a little girl who's 6, and a boy who he's about to turn 3 on the 23rd of this month. But with my daughter at a very young age, I started doing that with her affirmations. That, I'm brave, I'm bold, I'm beautiful, I'm strong. To really instill that, because also too, just as little boys need their dads in their lives, little girls do too. We all know the girls who don't grow up with their dads or with that role model and have, as we know, those daddy issues and start looking for love in all the wrong places and all those things, and end up getting hurt because they're searching for that love from a man that they never received from their dad. So seeing that with you and your daughter was just so beautiful and empowering. And also I seen the other one. I guess you were away for a while and you were just picking her up from school, and the pure joy of seeing her daddy and being there and having her dad was just amazing. Like I felt that, and just as a dad too, like I could understand how that made you feel, just seeing there and how she's just screaming and just so happy and so glad to have her daddy back. So it's very important, like I said, we as men, to be there for our children and show them we care, because that's just how they're gonna understand, and we need to make sure that we leave that impact. So as I ask every guy on the show, my very first question to everyone here, for you, if you had to think about it and break it down, what do you think are some of the main qualities and characteristics that make up a good man or a good person?
Ooh, it's a good question, man. There's so many characters, so many qualities, but I'll give you a few that resonate with me, and the things that I look for in guys when I'm, connecting with men, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, is faith. That's huge for me. Having that foundation that you stand on, or something that you're seeking to lead you to your purpose, right?
Right.
I think without that purpose, you just kind of, you're led astray. There's no focus, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that faith intertwined with that the purpose piece is definitely probably number one for me. Another thing is character and integrity. If you don't stand on your character, man, like you could be convinced and swayed in so many ways. So having a good character is, Obviously it's doing the right things when no one is looking.
Right.
And also the integrity piece of that, because we have to check, at least me, I check my integrity. I try to check it every day, man. I don't always get it right. I'll make a deal with myself and fail. Like, I know I'm going to get up at 4 in the morning to go work out, and then I end up not doing it. I say, okay, I'm going to do it later. So I failed at my integrity. I know that's a small piece, but that's a deal that I made with myself.
Absolutely.
Right? So that, being a man of your word, very key. Like, really just sticking to what you say. Being 10 toes down in what you say and what you believe. Also, grace. Having the grace for yourself, and grace for others. And I think that ties into love. Just really being able to love yourself where you are, being content where you are, and being able to project out in the future and say, okay, I'm right here right now. I do want to strive to be better in this area or these areas. So those are a few qualities that I look for that I think is very important in men. And there are several others, of course, but those are a few that I really stand on.
And they're great ones too. I mean, as you were saying that about purpose, and I've said this I think last week or the week before as well, but a man without purpose is driven to insanity, and I say that from personal experience. I was laid off from my job. My daughter was about to turn 1. Looking for other jobs. I didn't have a college degree. I'm 29 years old. I didn't have a college degree. I just got, my high school diploma, trying to find all these things, and they're asking for a bachelor's and all these things, and it just really threw me into a really negative space, because then you start thinking about all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, as I said to myself, like, oh, I could have stayed in school a little bit longer, or what if I didn't play around this? And then you just dealing with something that you don't have any control over, right? It happened, it's over. You got to look forward and what you can do to improve your situation. But, when you don't have that purpose, you're just lost in turmoil, and it drove me to serious depression and thoughts of suicide and just so much negativity, because I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. I didn't understand, like, what was my role. One of my things that says that, when it comes to being a good dad or a husband, one of the biggest things for me is being a provider, so I don't have a job. I'm not making the money that I used to make. I'm not able to get a thing. So I just started feeling less and less of a man every single day. And then, I was a stay-at-home dad too. So we didn't have that. So I had to stay home with my daughter, because we obviously couldn't afford daycare. And it just was so, it was like a burden to me taking my daughter to the park or going places, because you see, and 90% women are there. It's stay-at-home moms with their kids looking around and playing there. And just in the back of my mind, I just kept telling myself, like, all these women are looking at you like, oh, like, why isn't he at work providing for his family? He just here, and he not doing nothing, and just all these things that I'm telling myself that they're not even looking at me, for all I know. But I'm still beating myself up because I don't see my purpose, and I feel worthless. So, like you said, when I found, doing my podcast and what I want to do and the journey that I wanted to take, it just kind of really flipped everything around for me. I look forward to every week to talking to new people. It's just amazing, because I'm such a huge people person. I'm reaching now Japan, and I started this a year ago.
Look at you.
When you said that about purpose, that's what I thought about. But the other thing that you said too, that I heard recently, as you said, making a deal with yourself. It was an interview with Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Mamba. He was saying, like, I made a deal with myself. I don't negotiate with myself. He said that straight up. He's like, I don't. If I tell myself I'm gonna do something, I set a plan. I'm not gonna negotiate with myself. Like, I made a deal, and it is what it is. And that goes back to, like you said, being a man of character, of integrity of your word, and holding that down. And we've seen all the wonderful things he's been able to accomplish. Inside and outside of basketball.
Sure.
So those are really great points on that. And also, when it comes to being a good person and a good man, I think, again, of course, you also have to have very strong morals, right? That you live by and hold near and dear to yourself. So for you, what are some of your most important morals?
Morals. Like I talked about integrity, right? That's very important to me, man. I think without integrity, it's difficult to operate. I mean, you can be convinced and swayed different ways that you might not necessarily like, or could affect you, or could affect your future, right? Um, Another moral is just really, standing on that faith, man. Really standing on your faith. Being able to be solid in what you believe. You know, we talk about, morals and virtues a lot around the house. And I talk to my daughters about this, man, and I always tell them that your character integrity is non-negotiable. That's something that you set, and you have to be firm and rooted in it, because you're going to get people coming to you left and right, trying to convince you otherwise, kind of trying to convince you that you're not good enough, trying to convince you that you are, or that you're not beautiful. There's things that you're going to see that makes you question who you are. Therefore, that moral compass has to be in alignment. If you can stand on those morals and values that you've been taught, it's easy to weed out stuff. It's real easy to get through the issues, or you can see people coming a mile away, having their discernment. And it's not always easy, but at the same time, you have these sticks that's around you to say, I would not negotiate these right here: my faith, my beliefs, my integrity, my character. These are the things that no way, no how, nobody would be able to break that barrier. I'm going to have this confidence in myself, because this is part of my morals. This is what my mom and daddy taught me. These are the things that I've been able to develop, the discipline, all of that stuff. And those are few things that I believe morally, besides I guess the character based stuff. But we really hit on morals at this house, man, and it is just like, and I live by that. Character, integrity, every time. You might not get it right every time,
right?
And it's not saying that you need to be this perfect human, because we're not. But as long as you are centered and rooted, it'll be a lot easier for you to navigate. It'll be a lot easier for you to see through people and navigate through issues and situations and keep yourself out of trouble, because this is the wall that I've created. This is the wall that God has blessed me with. And these are the things that I'm going to continue to plant inside myself and the people around me. This is what I look for when I'm seeking friendship. Or, if I'm trying to mentor somebody, or if I'm looking for a mentor, these are the things that I look for.
No, absolutely. And then courage and confidence is important to really teach them young.
Yes.
And really get into that. My daughter, she's like my little twin, man. Everything that she's going through or that she's done, like, that was me.
Yeah.
And seeing her go through that and trying my best to maneuver and guide her the best way that I know how. And one of the important things is that I'm really working with her and getting her that is to be so solid and confident and happy with herself.
Yes.
Because I personally know that, I never had a lot of confidence, because I've always associated confidence with being cocky and being, like stuck up or on those things. And it really took me a long time to learn and understand the true difference between that. But the also thing that I had to learn was that, I was a huge people pleaser, so I wanted to make everybody happy and all those things. So, if I was trying to be confident, somebody's like, "Oh, you're being cocky." Like, I let that rock me. Like, "Oh, damn, maybe I am," and I let their word overpower like what my true intentions are. But then I learned that if somebody doesn't like you or they want to bring you down, they're gonna say whatever, no matter what, and it doesn't make a difference. There's so many people in this world that there's bound people that are not going to like you. Period. And you have to be okay with that. And that's what I'm struggling at this sometimes with my daughter, trying to teach her that, because, when I try to correct her or, set her right path or, some sort of discipline or anything like that, she gets extremely hard on herself, just like I would do, and just kind of starts bad mouthing herself and punishing herself. Like, I'm gonna go in the corner and do this. Like, no, I don't want that for you. You know, I don't want kids to say that, that say something at school and make you feel bad about yourself. Like, don't let anybody control your feelings is one of the most important things that I try to teach my daughter, because I know how hard that was for me. When growing up. So it's just wonderful how you teach that with your daughter, especially, like I said, with those affirmations and that, it's just such a cute thing to see, and it just, again, warmed my soul, man. So great on what you're doing with that. And as I said, this show is about that, the impact of our dads and our relationship with our fathers and stuff. So for you, what was your relationship with your dad like growing up?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you asked me that, Freddie, because I had a unique situation, very blessed situation, right? I grew up with two dads. So my real father and my stepfather. My stepfather raised me. He taught me how to walk as a kid, as a baby, and he was with my mom for a long time. And I learned a lot from him. My stepfather, I call him dad. That's my daddy, and my real father, we are like this, tight. So I never had a break. Well, sometimes my real father, I would see him for months at a time. But man, it was like, never had any issues really. Right. And he's my best friend. You know what I'm saying? And so growing up, my stepfather, he is a lot. He's the main reason I'm who I am today. And he was my coach. He put me in football, baseball, basketball. He coached me in every single sport. And he was a great father. Great father. Now, the as far as him being to my mom, he wasn't as great at that. But man, he took me like I was his son. And we still have this relationship today, and I'm 38 years old.
It's a beautiful thing.
And so I had a unique situation. He always encouraged me to keep a good relationship with my real father. And so on the weekends, I would go over to my father's house, man. And we it's been like that since I could remember. And my real father, man, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, man, great provider. He's always supported me and everything. And so growing up, I was a kid that it was kind of awkward for me at times because, like, nobody knew that my stepfather was my stepfather. They thought he was my real father because they seen him all the time. He coached me and everything, right? He coached a lot of my friends too. And so my biological father, Big Tony, they sat down and made a deal. They said, hey, to your friends, I am your uncle, Big Tony. He's my uncle.
Oh, wow.
So it made it not as awkward when he would come to my games and stuff. And so I would just tell people that was my uncle. Only few of my friends knew that he was my real father. And then when I got through high school, then everybody kind of figured it out. It's like, man, Tony, you look just like your uncle.
Your mama.
So, yeah, man. Yeah. So, I had a great dynamic, man. Like, I didn't grow up in the best area per se, but just to be transparent, man, my stepfather was a drug dealer. He pushed weight, and I seen everything. He didn't hide anything from me. I would sit at the table while he's sitting there cutting up the dope and everything. I seen everything. He didn't hide. He told me, he said, man, I'd rather you see this right here in your own house than go out in the streets and see this stuff and somebody give you some bad stuff and you get mixed up with the wrong people. So he showed me everything. I don't know, he was my coach, great father, but that piece right there was, I don't know, it's almost like I needed to see that, man.
Yeah.
And it really structured a lot of the ways that I think today because I kind of got I got a little street smarts because I ran with my daddy all the time. And I seen him and I seen the young guys that ran for him, man. It was almost like a movie. I'm 6, 7, 8 years old seeing all this stuff. Nothing was he did not show me anything. He said, I'm going to be transparent with you.
That's good.
I'm not going to sugarcoat none of this because that was his life. And, he never let me get into it like that or get hurt or anything. But man, I'm just thinking like how they could have went the wrong direction. But in hindsight, I'm grateful that he showed me all of that stuff. And so in my mind, it clicked like, man, I know I don't want to do this. When I was in middle school, kind of the turning point here was McGruff the crime dog.
That's McGruff.
Yeah, I think I was in the 7th grade. He came out of school, and the police officer was like, "Hey, if you know anybody that's selling drugs, just write their name down in this paper and give it to us, and we'll take care of it." Right? I'm not gonna tell on my daddy, man. Right? But Freddie, I went home that same day, and I talked to my dad. I said, "Hey, man, I think you should stop selling drugs." I said, and I told him what happened. McGruff the crime dog came to the school. They asked for these names for these people in the neighborhood. And of course I didn't give you up. But at the same time, it made me reflect like, man, I don't want to lose my dad.
Right.
And he stopped. But when I graduated from 8th grade going into high school, he went to prison that summer. So I went through my whole high school years without my stepfather, my coach, my best friend, my mentor. He taught me everything. Taught me how to be a gentleman. He taught me how to open doors. He taught me how to be respectful. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. He taught me all of that. So he's the reason why I'm mostly how I'm structured today. Because he planted those seeds when I was a kid. He taught me early, man. He didn't play that stuff. Discipline. Now, you're not going to be talking back to these grown people. You're going to watch your mouth or you're going to get your teeth knocked out. That's how my daddy played, man. So I respected him and I still respect him. And he's my stepfather. But, man, it really, like, I have the most respect for him because he took a kid that wasn't his and made me like I was his own. And, man, I tell you, I can go on and on about him and Big Tony, man. Like, they're great guys, So I had a unique situation where I had 2 dads. And I'm still very close with them to this day, man. So I take fatherhood very seriously because I had great role models as fathers, They didn't make the most money. They didn't always do the right things. And, but, man, they did right by me every time.
No, and I'm so glad that you kind of opened up and shared it. Is cause I've been talking to a lot of people too, and I did a couple episodes before about step parenting and all that and the fears. Because for myself, right, as I said in that is I couldn't see myself, like I can always ask these questions, right? Like thinking myself like, could I see myself with somebody who already had a kid? And part of me was like, yeah, but then the bigger part was just like, I just couldn't see myself doing it for a few reasons. Number one, I've been traumatized at everything that we've seen in the movies and stuff like that, like how bad it is to deal with somebody, step parenting and co-parenting with the other parents, and it's so crazy. Like you said, like, that they came up with that agreement that your actual dad will be known as your uncle, and he would be called a dad. Like that takes a lot on both ends. To be okay with something like that. Like for myself, like I don't think I could have been okay with that. Like, it just, my kid is my kid and I would feel some sort of way. But then also part of me, like I knew that I wanted to be a dad so bad that I feared that, I do love kids, I try to, play with all the kids and stuff like that. But I started to fear like, what if I'm with this person and she has her kid and then we have our own kid together, and would I play favorites unintentionally because this one's actually mine? Would I, show more love or attention and it, ruin this other kid or cause some and I didn't want to be put in that position. So that was it for me for step parenting. But on the other side is that I saw in my own home the exact opposite of what I was showing in the media. My dad, I have a brother who's in between me and my sister, different mom. But my mother, I never heard my mom talk bad about this woman. I never seen her be disrespectful to this woman. We would go to Puerto Rico to go see my brother, and we would go to their house and pick them up. They wouldn't go inside. They weren't the best of friends, but they were extremely cordial and respectful. And it was just such a wonderful relationship. Like my brother calls my mom, and I love you, mommy, and she's the same thing when we go places. This is my son, and all. Like there's no anything in between. So if I had like I used to, since I lived here in the States, I had a lot of the good stuff. My brother in Puerto Rico didn't have those things. So when my video game, she would send to him without telling me, like, you know what I mean? Like, right. Then to make sure that he was good. If he
Yeah,
needed things, she would make sure that he had it for school and all that. So I seen that. But again, I guess I let the society world outside of me show me so much of the negative that I guess it caused that fear for me about step parenting. And
yeah,
I think a
yeah,
lot of people have that associated in their mind. So it's so wonderful for you, that, like you said, it's a very, very unique situation to have both of your dads, growing up there and being a part of life and teaching you so much things and being so involved.
mm,
Because I think that's on the other end, right? I've seen a lot of guys who dads weren't in their lives or they didn't have that male father figure. And now that they're dads, they overcompensate for their kids, and try to
yeah,
be there because they know what that pain is like. But also
yeah,
in your case too, when you have guys who are in there doing that, if as for you, you take your fatherhood very, very seriously, and being a dad is so important to you. And I can see that in your videos and the way you're talking and how you carry yourself is just it's a beautiful thing that to see, men being that involved in their kids' lives because it's so, so important. Now with
yeah,
that, I know you said I heard you say you had daughters, and I've only seen the one. How many kids do you have?
yeah. I have two daughters.
Two daughters.
So the video you seen of when I went to the school to pick my daughter, that's my oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a video from back in 2019. She was 4. I think she was 4 at the time, and that was a school that I was gone for work for a few months, and I just surprised her. I popped up on her. So she's 8 now. She just turned 8 in March,
Oh, happy
and then
birthday!
thank you, man. I let her know, and then her name is Harley, and so then I have my baby girl with the affirmations. She just turned 2 in January, so I have 2 girls, and I'm expecting my son. I'm expecting a baby boy.
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man. So excited, and we expecting our baby boy in September. So my wife is like 18 weeks pregnant right now.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. It is
Thank
it's different, man. It's different.
you. Yeah,
My daughter again, she's very like me in a lot of ways, man. Such a people person, loves talking to people, so kind hearted, genuine, you know what I mean? Like she's out there. My
mm-hmm.
son, no, he don't play that. He don't got time for nobody. Like, you know what I mean? He's a whole opposite dynamic. Like with me and him, we have an amazing bond.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. Like I said, it's just something different about having a boy. I guess
yeah.
it's a legacy of you. It's an extension of yourself, and so
Yeah.
it's a wonderful thing. Again, congratulations. I'm very, very happy
Thank
for
you.
you. Now, let's talk about the kids. I know you were saying that before, as far as integrity and having their characters and stuff like that. Actually, before I jump into that question, because I almost got caught up with that with the whole thing with your dads. But being that you had your two dads there in your life and stuff, and I know that they taught you so many different things. But what do you think is the most important thing that you've learned from each of them?
It's a good question. I'll start with my biological father. Um, he has a spirit of he's very kind to people, very kind. Like he'll give you the shirt off his back, and I've inherited a lot of that. Just really, really being able to have an open hand, help people, you know, and that's very important to me
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, I didn't grow up with money or anything like that, but being able to help people when you don't necessarily have it and not even think twice about it, to be like, okay, hey, I got this. If you need it, I got you. I need your shirt off my back. So he really implanted that just by his actions. It's not so
Mm-hmm.
much that he told me,
Yeah.
hey, son, this is how you should be. He never said, like, he's not a big talker when it comes to that. He just lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I really pride myself on leading by example. A person can say all, they can say a lot of lip service. You can say a lot of things, but what does your actions show?
Right.
So that leadership by example is what I learned from my father, my biological father, because he wasn't a big, like I say, he wasn't a big communicator like that. And my stepfather, I say for him, man, what I've learned from him is respect, the respect piece. Being able to, for one, respect yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't respect yourself, you can't expect other people to respect you as well. It has a lot
Right.
to do with confidence and how you carry yourself,
Absolutely.
and that is something that he taught me as a little boy. Even when I first started playing sports, like I said, he was my coach. So he would ride. I did practice. He'd be riding me in practice, and guess what? I got to ride home with him. So he giving it to me in the car, right? And he taught me that, hey man, you gotta respect yourself when you getting ready to go up to that bat and swing that bat at that baseball. You gotta walk up there with confidence. I don't care if you shaking in your boots, but you can't let other people see that. And being able to respect other people, specifically women,
Mm.
being able to respect women, just being a gentleman, and a lot of that ties into the respect. And I've always been a gentleman. I always open doors. I take my mom somewhere, my grandmother somewhere. I got it. I'm gonna pay for the bill, no matter who I go out with. I got it. Cousins, aunts, aunties, grandmother. It don't matter. Friends, girlfriends, homegirls. It don't matter. My daughters, I got it. Daddy got it because that's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
There's no negotiating. There's no splitting the bill. I see that a lot. I've been seeing that a lot on social media about these guys talking about going Dutch and all that. I was never raised like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like you take this one. I know, kind of going off on a tangent. You take this woman out on a date, and you talking about going Dutch. Man, just stop that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? For me, that's not a gentleman. A gentleman is gonna take care of stuff. He gonna open these doors. He's gonna be a gentleman to this woman. If you are really seeking to get to know this woman better, man, put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, the respect, the gentleman, that collides for me anyway. So those are few qualities that I learned from both of my dads.
Yeah, no, and it's so important to keep that on, like you said, with your biological dad, and being a kind person, and leading by example and showing that. Because my dad was the same way. I didn't have real
Mm-hmm.
deep conversations with my dad until I got older, but I
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of what he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And in both aspects, like, and I know to share this story so many times, but my dad, we'd have snowstorms in a little cul-de-sac, and my dad would be shoveling the snow to one of our neighbors and stuff like that to the front. And I remember one day just asking him, like, why are you doing that to her? You know what I mean? Like, we have our own place here. Like, I was just confused. And he said, that she's always going to the hospital, and they always coming here in an ambulance. Like, if something happens to her, how they gonna get to her with all this snow in the
Mm-hmm.
way? And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So from that day forward, I started doing myself. If it was snowed, I'd wake up early, get my friends, and we'd shovel everybody's thing. And that sometimes with this daylight, because if you need to get to emergency, they need to get out. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
something that again, he showed me, that stuck with me. And it's also too, like, how he carried it to my mom, even when they had their arguments and all those things. The next morning, every morning, without fail, he'd be up and make sure that her coffee was on a little handrail, so when she got out the bathroom, she was ready with her coffee there after she got ready. And he'd go out in the morning and turn on her car and dust it up, and no matter whatever happened the night before, like, he still, like, he always told me, like, I made a promise I was gonna take care of this woman. I'm gonna take care of this woman, come hell or high water, whatever happens. That's what I gotta do. And it's just, again, like you said, that by leading by example and showing. And it's such a beautiful thing to see that people being genuinely kind and courteous, like you said, too, like yourself, because when you do a kind gesture nowadays for people, like, they look at you like you got three heads, like they're so dumbfounded, like, wait, what? Like, what do you want from, like, nothing, man? I'm just just being human, bro. Like, that's it. So it's so crazy to see how people react to that. Just genuine nicely now these days. Now back, like I said, to with your girls now, and like I know that you said about character and having them more so they don't break for anything like that. What is something that you're constantly trying to instill in them that's just in your mind, that you want to make sure that's ingrained in their brains?
Yeah. Believing in themselves. Like, really wholeheartedly believing, and that's why we do those affirmations. Because I want them to have so much confidence that nobody can tell them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know who you are to the core, which means I'm going to continue to plant these seeds in you. We're going to pray together. We're going to read this word together. Like, all of that stuff, man, because I believe that the Bible, God tells you who you are. He shows you who you are. You might not get it right off the bat. It takes time. It takes work. It takes consistent digging and understanding like your whole purpose. I think purpose comes in stages. It comes in steps. He's not going to show you all at once. Yeah, you might be hitting on something right now, but there is something bigger. There's something more that God is wanting to show you, right? And so there's something that we talk to our daughters about, man, and just really having that confidence and that belief in yourself that you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know who you are. You're strong in your mind. You're strong in your heart. You're strong physically. And you carry yourself in a way where it's beautiful. You carry yourself in a way where you are, people want to be around you. You know, my daughters have such a big, both of them have big personalities. My oldest, like, she's never met a stranger. She will walk up to you and say, "You're my best friend. Let's play."
Yeah.
And although they can be kind of like, "Hey, you know, you're being a little too much right now," but she's a kid. And I don't want to take that away from her.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, man. And she's like, she loves people. She loves people. And a lot, like you said about your 6-year-old, when something happens, they kind of beat themselves up a little bit, kind of, talk down a little bit to themselves. And my oldest does that. And so we continuously talk about positive attitude. I always tell her, your attitude is everything. If your attitude ain't good, your performance is probably going to stink. So let's take a step back. Why are you talking negative about yourself right now? It's constant, man. Like, we have to talk through, we role play. We have to talk through these things daily. Like, okay, if this happens, then what? If somebody say they don't want to play with you, that don't mean you get down on yourself. It just means not right now. We talk about boundaries. We talk about that stuff. And so I want to be able to plant those seeds, my wife and I, plant those seeds in them early, because I don't want them to get out in the world and the world tell them who they are.
Right.
Because we know that's a lie. We know that's a lie. And I'm not gonna risk that, man. So I go out of my way to tell my daughters how beautiful they are, how smart they are. We learn stuff together. So because I want them to grow up and be great, strong adults that can handle themselves. They can weed out the guys. Be able to weed and pick and choose and understand just having that spirit of discernment when they're out and about, and being able to like understand people. So, and understand themselves more than anything. So those are definitely believing in yourself.
No, and it's huge these days because, like you said, if you don't do it or you don't teach them young, then the outside world is going to pick a place for them.
Oh yeah,
and it's never going to be where they want to be. And like I said, I know that from experience, always trying to please people and trying to fit into these things and always just not feeling quite right, like someone's off or just not really being truly happy. And, it just got to a point where I know where I was literally like, had to sit and ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, do I really enjoy this? Is this what I'm about? Does this make me feel a certain way? Like, why? And really have those conversations with yourself to better understand what you are so you can set those boundaries and set those things, because if not, then everybody's going to rule and control your life. And I know what that did for me, so I don't want that at all for my kids. So trying to, teach them and instill the things that I wish that I had at that age is vital. It's vital to their survival. Yeah. And it's the only one to do that is, like you said, is us as fathers, as dads, to be there consistently. Because nobody's perfect, right? And no kid really wants a perfect dad. No dad's gonna be perfect, but they want a present parent. You know what I mean? Like that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like good or bad, like you always being there is something that goes a long, long, long way. Because again, we always ask them, when things go bad, look in the corner, who's there? Daddy's there, whether it's good or bad, high or low, whatever. I'm always there. You know what I mean? Like, so that you can rely on me and trust me. We can have that bond. We may not always agree, but we're always trying to find the right path together. And
that's right.
And as I said this too, and I continue to say this because it becomes more and more evident as I'm a parent, is that our parents don't have all the answers. They never did when we were growing up. They're trying to figure it out like we're trying to figure it out, because every child is different. Manual. Yeah, everybody's different, So even like that, like I said, man, my son and my daughter, two totally different entities, and you have to address them as such.
Yeah.
Very great things they're teaching the kids and stuff that's going on, and then just seeing now because I was trying to understand more about you and number one, my first question: how did you end up out in Japan, man?
Right, right. So I'm in the Navy.
Okay.
I'm an officer in the Navy, and I've been in the Navy for January will be 12 years for me. And this is actually our second time living in Japan. We used to live in Japan from 2013 to 2015, so we were stationed out here. And actually, when we got married, which was 2013, which is a whole nother story in itself, we moved out here pretty early, and we ended up having our first daughter here. So Harley is born in Japan. And so we moved back to California, which I was stationed in San Diego at first. We moved back to California for about 5 years, and then we came back out. We had the opportunity to come back to Japan, and we love it here, man. People are so nice. The culture is different. It's clean. It's efficient. Customer service is through the roof. Like, it is really cool. People mind their business. The food is great. It's just a cool place to be, man. It's one of the most peaceful countries in the world. It's actually like number 7 on the list of the peace. I forget the name of the document, but it's like the most peaceful place in the world. They rated off of crime and all that stuff. And Japan is like that, man. You can leave your wallet at a restaurant and it will get mailed to your house with all the money still in it. You see little kids walking around on the train by themselves from school. They'll get in a cab by themselves, like little kids, 6, 7, 8 years old, like no supervision. Could never do that at the crib. For one, our parents wouldn't let us do that. But there's a difference, you know. Mm-hmm. We still wouldn't do that with our kids here, but because we've been conditioned to be like, you got to hold your kids tight.
Right.
And so, yeah, man, that's how we ended out in Japan. I go orders out here. We got about a year left. Sorry about that. Hold on one second. Sorry, my neighbors out there making noise.
All right.
But yeah, so yeah, that's how we ended up in Japan. I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I mean, thank you for your service. You know, I mean, it's crazy to do those things, and I bring that up too because I think hopefully this week or whatever, I want to talk to some of my people who've been in the military. I know I have one of my good friends who's actually in the Army right now. One of my best friends, Dan Welton. He's out there. Another friend of mine, I did an interview with him. His name is Rich Towser, was also in the military. My cousin's a Marine. But with them, you know, I've seen like I guess the darker side of what happens out there and the things that they see. My friend Dan, you know, I did his interview, and then afterwards we kind of started talking about, you know, some of his things that happened over there, and I could just tell he needed to vent, man, and get this stuff off his chest and things that's bothering, especially with somebody, I guess, like, you know, that he can trust and know and have these conversations with. But it's surreal, the things that people in the armed services have to see or encounter or deal with. That really leaves an impact. Like my other cousin, Orlando, like I said, was a Marine. Well, once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine, right? But he got a discharge. They ran over a mine out there in Afghanistan. In the tanks and stuff, so he was out and he suffers from like anxiety and stuff like that and all these things from all that stuff that goes out there. So actually, if I do get that setting up, I'd love to talk to you and get you on there just to talk, you know, from armed forces background and kind of talk to them too, because everybody needs to vent. Like I said, they share some things. Just hearing the stories, you know, made the hairs on my neck stand up, and it just felt kind of dark, you know, and I couldn't imagine actually having to live through that. And some of the things being on your conscience is crazy. So it's a lot. And the reason I get into that, and maybe I'll get into this with you, because I remember asking one of them, you know, one time I was like, you know, I'm thinking about myself. I was like, I want to join maybe the armed forces or something like that. He's like, well, why you want to do it? I said, really, I just want to get the discipline. And he said, don't join then. If that's all you in for, then don't join. And, you know, there's other ways to get that and stuff. And I don't know if it was a place from just the things that they had to witness. And all those things, but they steered me away from that. And I know it's a lot to go through. And I think maybe because myself too is that I'm such a I don't know if it's a humanitarian, just a people person, stuff like that. Like I'm not built for war. I'm not built for you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like it's just I don't know if I could deal with that in my life. So more power to you, man.
Thank you.
But as we winding down here, man, right? Like I said, the show was going on for an hour. I know you've been sitting down with me for some time, so I got two last questions for you.
Okay.
And the number one, right, and everything that you've been through, I guess your career, and then that you've learned, what do you think has been the best advice you've received?
Mm. Best advice I received. Hmm. Uh, okay. Has a lot to do with has a lot to do with self, and don't let this world tell you who you are. I like really going against the grain on stuff, right? And so if I see a crowd going a certain way, I'm probably not gonna go that way because I understand that being normal is what this world is, and normal can be wrong. A lot of the times it is, right? And so I'm a big believer in God structured a path for me and it's narrow. And so that's the road I want to go down. And I know it's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be challenging, but that's the road I'd rather go down because normal can be wrong. And therefore I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to follow the crowd. That's probably some of the best advice I've received from my pastor. Well, he's a mentor to me, and just really, man, don't follow the crowd. You know, don't allow the world to tell you who you are. Read your word, and God will show you who you are. And so that's something that I live by, man. It's a few things that I live by, and that's definitely one of them. I see a lot of stuff that go on that I'm just like, man, I'm so glad. Thank God for the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding, being able to really study and understand and tap into who I am and continue that journey because I'm still discovering who I am. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still peeling that onion back. Every year I get older, there's something different that I find out. And yeah, man, that's a nugget from my pastor mentor friend. He told me that about I don't know. I guess it's been 5, 6 years now.
No, and it's such sound advice because it's so true. Throw it out there. At one point, slavery was normal, didn't make it right.
Right,
Certain drugs were normal, didn't make it right. We got to learn
right,
with time and as we evolve to understand that. So, it is absolutely true. Just because what seems to be the norm or what the average is or what's accepted by community doesn't mean this is necessarily the right thing. And I think it goes back to like you said too. Like you have to have the character and the integrity to be able to go against the grain because you are gonna get you're gonna get it. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be so much kickback and all these things that tell you how wrong you are. But if you're
yeah,
able to surpass that, then everybody will love you again. You know what I mean? Like because you're able to do the impossible, do something that people was different or have a different way of thinking, and so
yeah,
it's something with my daughter too that when she was in school and going to these daycare the first time, and I seen some of the teachers who were encouraging her to be herself. You know what I mean? Like not telling her to, oh, you gotta do this or write this way or whatever. Just letting her be free to express herself, and that's what I want to do with my kids is let them
hmm
have that comfort to be able to express themselves, and be out there, and
absolutely,
also prepare them because, like we say, man, the world is very cruel and harsh. You know what I mean? When they get out there, so you gotta
yeah,
have a certain tough skin as well too, or at least like you said, have that confidence and belief with yourself that no matter what goes
hmm
out there, you can come back and ground yourself in what your core morals are, what your beliefs and all those things that happen in your life. So, definitely
yeah.
great advice that you received. Now, also then on that note, right, with all your experience and everything that you've been through and went through in this life, if you had to look back at some little kid and give them a piece of advice or something to some mentoring words, what would that be?
It would be self discovery first. Like you don't have to be 25, 35, 45 to understand who you are. Like start that early. Start that process early. Like really start seeking God's counsel, putting yourself around positive people. Get serious early. Yeah, if you're still a teenager, yeah, you're gonna do teenager stuff, but you can align yourself with the right people and really just latch on and become a sponge and soak up the knowledge, the wisdom. Don't allow your ego to run you over. And that's probably one of the biggest problems that we have as men is we allow our ego to just run rampant. It's self-destruction, man. We get this big head, not saying the confidence, and I think you touched on it earlier, but you need to have confidence. You need to have big confidence. But when you get to the point where that ego is, you can't check that, it don't matter how much money you have, no matter how many people around you, you're going to self-destruct. So being able to check that ego at the door early, and it's a constant thing. It's due diligence in checking that ego. And I would definitely tell a young person, seek your purpose early. Do stuff that's positive in your life. Even when you're in college, people say, oh, I'm in my 20s, I'm having fun. And we know what fun means. You're going to go out there, you're going to drink, you're going to party your way to death. And then, you graduate and then you look down the road, it's like, damn, I squandered all those years because I want to hang out all the time. Nothing wrong with partying.
Right.
But when you are overindulging in that stuff and you're putting yourself around the wrong people, it doesn't set you up well. And another thing, the last thing I tell them, financial literacy. Like, start learning that now. I'm teaching my daughters that now because I didn't learn that. All I knew was make money, spend what you get. So financial literacy is like a breakthrough to unlocking the next level in your life. You can become a millionaire earlier. You can set your own bar. You can control your own narrative if you have that in line and knowing who you are and choosing the right spouse. Game changer right there. You got to choose the right spouse. Hey, you have to.
Listen, I couldn't agree with you more and in all of those areas, right? I think starting off from, like you said, the first thing, right, self-discovery. It is, man. The earlier you do that, the easier your life is going to be, right? Because you know who you are, you know how to avoid situations, you're not trying to figure things out or trying to experiment with other things or, all those other areas, or letting other people create the version of you that they want and not the creating the version of you that you are supposed to be, So it is very important. I think, as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, with these past years is, as I got into spend more time with myself, in the sense that, hey, when you're teenagers, you're always with your friends, you're going up and down, you're always with your crew and stuff, right? And you're doing things together and you're kind of figuring it out. But now that, as we're kind of grown, and we're, off in our different directions and stuff, we got more time to ourselves. But during that time to myself, I started really asking, who am I? What do I like? Why? What's my purpose? What makes me happy? And really starting to master and work on understanding my feelings, my emotions, and why I do the things I do, so that when things happen, I know what triggers me. I know how to react. Like I always tell with my wife, and a lot of things is that I've known, and I think everybody's, most of us are like that. When we're too fueled by emotion, we don't think straight. You don't say what you really mean. You don't do what you really do because your emotions are just taking over and just, when you play that new video game, what you're doing, you just start mashing the buttons. That's what it's like. You know what I mean? Like you just sitting here just because you don't know what you're doing. So I tend to always like kind of voice my wife like, hey, you know what? Like I'm not that I don't have any emotion about this, but I'm just removing that out of the picture right now. I'm just trying to think logically, ones and twos and stuff like that to make what makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Because if you're driven too much by emotion, you're not really seeing as clear as you need to see. You know? So that
it's one thing that real quick. It's one thing that my captain that I work for now. He always tell us, don't attack the emotion, attack the problem. So what you just said, removing your emotion out of the issue, and what is the problem? Because when you're emotional, it's kind of hard to see clear. Your mind might be cloudy. So it made me think about that. Don't attack the emotion, attack the problem.
Absolutely. There you go. Like, and that's another gem for the young ones out there, right?
Yeah.
And how you also said too with financial literacy, right? I think that we don't know any of that in school. Like I was still like in my 30s or something like that, calling up my mom like, "Yo, mom, how do I fill out my taxes for this new job? Like, what do I gotta click for
Right.
A?" And it's sad like we don't know that. We know A squared plus B squared equals C squared. You know what I'm saying? We know like all that stuff, but the money thing we're
Right.
not really taught. And that's
Right.
something that I had to learn for myself. Seeing my parents, like you said, hey, they work to pay the bills, right, and put a roof over our head and maintain. That's what they knew.
Yeah.
And now myself, like I was given my dad gave me one thing of advice, right, which I love my father for this always, right. My brother my dad's a mechanic, right, and I would always ask him to teach me mechanics, and he never did. He refused to teach me anything about mechanics, right? I mean, the little basic oil change here and there, kind of how to maintain the car, but nothing more. But when my brother would come from Puerto Rico, they would go down to the garage and they would work together and all this stuff. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, why the hell are you showing him and not me like that? And as I grew up to understand was, of course, he doesn't live with us, so that's their bonding time. That's something that they can kind of quickly bond over and all stuff, and a way that he can teach him. But one time when he was here, he did that. I confronted him. I was like, "Yo, why won't you teach me this stuff?" And he looked at me, right? And he said, "Look at my clothes. I'm covered in oil. Look at my hands. Like I'm saying they swollen and blistered and cut up and stuff like that. I don't want this life for you. You're gonna make money with your brain and not, you know what I'm saying, and not with your hands." And I was like, "Wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
So I started to, I became a hustler, man. I was, using my any which way with technology or anything like that to try to make money. I do custom T-shirts. I'm doing my podcast. I used to bootleg DVDs and CDs and do ringtone, like all these things that really, like he said, use my brain to make that money. And that's what kind of, as I am now, learning more about finances and trying to educate myself better so that I could teach my daughter. My daughter got a checking account right now. She got her own debit card. She's 6 years old.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? So we go to the store. I'm like, okay, mommy, think about that. Like, you had to make your bed X amount of time this week to make $5. Is that worth that? You know what I mean? Like, or do you want to save for something better? And getting those things to think of. And of course, as a dad, I spoil her here and there. She says she's going to use that. I don't really spend her money because I want her to save. But getting that thought in her head, right? And then thinking about that. And I don't know, I think they did that in Florida or somewhere else where they actually assigned something where the kids need to be taught financial literacy, right? It was Florida, right?
Yeah.
Which is huge. When you're 18, you should be able to learn how to fill out your own taxes for a new job. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to know how to balance a checking account and all those things, because otherwise you're gonna be a mess. So again, with that, just beautiful things. So I appreciate your time, man, and thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure actually speaking with you and getting to see somebody again, like just different lifestyle living out there and stuff, and just knowing that I'm reaching out there and all these things. So thank you again so much for sitting down with me. Congratulations on your son. I'm definitely gonna be checking up with you these next couple months, see how it is, because it's a trip having your little boy.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Freddie, man. Thanks for having me on, and I definitely look forward to iron sharpening iron, man. We'll keep in contact, and we can do this again at any time.
Absolutely. Like I said, man, I'm working on. I'm trying to get my military buddies together and stuff like that, and because I do have another show that I just started recently. It's called Fab with Fab, which is face fears and build bonds with Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and just the whole concept about that is just getting guys together to sit down and talk about different problems. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about, like I said, stepdad and step parenting and stuff, and we talked about dealing with miscarriages and losing your child and all those things. So we touched on a lot of things, and I think the next one I want to do is for the military. Like I said, I see my cousin this past weekend, and fortunately, we were at a funeral. One of our uncles passed. And, I see him there, and it was just crazy. He's like, all right, I got to get out of here because my anxiety is starting to kick in, all these things. And I know it's from his military days and all those things that, you kind of don't want to talk about. My other boy was like, listen, when I talked about that, he's like, listen, I will tell you about, like, my time there, but nothing more. I'm not going into any details. Like, I'm not talking about my time. But I'm like, I respect that, you know what I mean? Because, of course, things trigger people differently, so I definitely understand. So, having you on for that conversation would be amazing. So we'll definitely be in touch.
Okay.
So again, thank you so much, and everybody, like I always say, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed, everybody. Thanks, son.
All right, brother.
Take it easy.